Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm unboxing ELAC's brand new Uni-Fi reference range. ELAC's Uni-Fi range has had a number of iterations, but I take it that with the success of their debut reference range and the style and elegance, the options that it gave as far as colours and things became hugely popular, that when it was time to refresh and improve the Uni-Fi range, they took it upon themselves to also improve the aesthetic appeal. And you'll see today some of their brand new finish options. These bookshelf speakers are the UBR62. Now, basically, Uni-Fi, bookshelf, reference, 6-inch. They're probably 6.5 as far as the drive units, but, you know, semantics. Unlike most speakers, and why the Uni-Fi range was so successful, is they kind of cheat. Even their bookshelf speakers are a true three-way design, with a coaxial sort of tweeter and a mid-range around it. It means that despite its compact size, it will punch far above its weight class as far as its ability to grip and control the sound without the mid-range becoming flustered or flummoxed at reasonable volumes. So it's wonderful to see that they've taken some of the brilliant elements that made Uni-Fi so popular, kept them, and then improved some of the other things. New bass drivers, new cabinet design, new crossover and new aesthetics. So let's have a look. Firstly, as you can imply, even from a bookshelf speaker, this is a big box. There's two in here obviously, but most bookshelf speakers come in a far more modest box, implying of course the elaborate packaging and the quality and size of the speaker inside. The packaging is relatively boring. It's brown with some basic black screen printing. On both ends you've got a scannable information of model and serial number and other things along those lines, stacking information, freight information and weight. It's got a cool little line drawing on one side highlighting the speaker and what it's kind of look like. And it's taped and stapled closed. So the first thing, really straightforward as far as opening the packing tape. It's a simple enough craft knife sort of job. Because these are also stapled, it means that there's sort of a very vigorous way of getting the next step, and it's just tearing the box open. As I've always recommended, please, anything that's stapled, grab and get rid of the staples themselves promptly. Put them somewhere safe, get them out of the road. There's nothing worse than potentially cutting yourself, or as you drag your speakers out, scratching them because of those staples. Opening up the top, we see some very basic things. Firstly, the printed instructions and user manual associated with the Uni-Fi reference range. It's pretty comprehensive. Line drawings about everything, their basic setup, frequency response specifications, all in a nice little manual. There's a couple of desiccant bags and the polystyrene that then supports the product and protects it in freight. Now the ultimate technique, like anything with anything that's heavy, roll it over, make sure all the cardboard is folded out, and then lift the very light box off the product, rather than mangling yourself trying to get a heavy speaker out of the box. Now in doing so, of course, it's leaving the other half of the polystyrene in the bottom, making it really straightforward to get rid of that packaging. Now both are identical, so I'll put one of these speakers off to one side, and we'll concentrate on just one at a time. Now the first is a separate carton for the grill itself. Grills can easily get damaged with the rocking around and knocking around of speakers moving in freight, so it's good that they've decided to protect it in a separate carton. The carton itself is just sellotaped closed, so very straightforward. It is worthwhile mentioning that ELAC have thought about how you might open this and the risks associated with using a craft knife, which is ultimately what people do, in dragging across the grill underneath and potentially damaging it permanently. So weirdly, and it's wonderful they've done it, they have a little overlap in the carton, so that if you do open it with a craft knife, you've really got to be putting too much pressure on it to damage the grill in any way. Now, once inside that box, we've got the grill itself, and it's in a little plastic bag. The bag isn't taped closed, it's very straightforward as far as taking it out. Now what you'll see immediately is a departure from the classic sort of black grills into something that's a little bit of a textured grey look. Again, this is emulating the hugely popular design of the debut reference range with their grey grill and the two colour options that they've got. There's 6 magnets and to hold the grill on, and each magnet has a little soft cover to ensure that there's no chance of this marking the speaker as you take it on and off or move it around. It's pretty clear with the honeycomb design that they're trying to make this as acoustically transparent as possible, but still stiff enough to do its job. And you'll also see a simple delineation in it so that we understand where the mid-bass driver goes in the mid-range. Lifting the speaker, in fact, we'll just sort of roll it. Have a look. We'll do it this way. Plastic bag, polished cloth bag, revealing the ELAC logo, and then as we roll them over, it's really straightforward to then lift the last of the polystyrene, discarding it, slip the plastic bag off, then the polished bag, and get a look at this magnificent new speaker for the first time. For those that may be aware of the debut reference range or seen other unboxing videos that I've done, at first glance you can see the appeal and how the cabinet is now emulating the finish available in the debut reference range. This two-tone sort of Scandinavian design with a light oak sort of wood grain. In fact, this wood grain has a texture. I hope that maybe the lighting and camera picks it up. There's a texture to it. It's not smooth. The speakers also have a two-tone finish with white. The alternative colour has a black front and a dark sort of walnut veneer, which is relatively smooth. The first thing I'll show you though as I lean it forward is a departure from a traditional design. The front is curved. Curves, particularly across the front face of a speaker, help to manage the direct reflection of the sound wave that is created from the drive unit. That reflection, of course, is exactly out of phase and not really desirable as far as anything in your room. Managing that as best as possible is one of the arts that speaker manufacturers deliver. And if we look at the Vela range and everything up from there, where there are no parallel lines, everything's got a curve, those cabinets cost an absolute fortune to build. So they've introduced some cost-effective curves where they can, with this front sort of panel being moulded as a curve, and then curves across the top rather than sharp, hard edges. Looking at the speaker, we see, as I implied, the coaxial design of this range. There is a tweeter protected by a cover. That cover has hexagonal or honeycomb shape disbursement holes. Even the shape of that dome is masterfully engineered to ensure that it manages the disbursement of the high frequencies into the room. Then we have a mid-range driver, a dedicated mid-range driver around that tweeter. The annulus and all of these things is a trickle down of design from some of their much more expensive speakers, and it's soft and malleable. It's beautiful as far as the quality goes. Even this outer ring is a trickle down of some engineering utilised in the Vela and other ranges to help manage the disbursement of this mid-range into the space as well. Beneath it is a brand new mid-bass driver, and as I alluded to earlier, it's about 6.5 inches. It's very, very easy to move, very efficient from that perspective. There's no phase plug or dust cap or anything like that. It's a beautiful curve, and again it's because ELAC has a trickle down of some of their very, very expensive bonding techniques to introduce the voice coil centrally at the back with very little use of any unnecessary materials. So with that, of course, it's much lighter, with that it's more precise, and so on as we start to gain a far greater control of the sound and a better quality in that as well. Again, the ring, the basket is tapered, again to ensure that it's managing the reflection. Now, a departure from the previous Uni-Fi range, and something that we saw first in the debut reference range, is this front port with a beautiful scallop. It's designed to manage the air pressure and other things within the cabinet, but also stop any port chuffing or any influence of that port on the room. Then front and centre we've got a beautiful ELAC logo, and that sort of brings to an end as far as the front of the speaker. But before we spin it round and have a look at the other elements, it's important we pause and have a chat. This has a frequency response close to down to 40 Hz. Now, again, difficult to manage that in most speakers, and it's wonderful that they've introduced such wonderful frequency response in such a compact, affordable speaker. The tweeter is efficient all the way up to 30 kHz. It's a 6 ohm impedance, and although they do say that it will handle up to 120 or 140 watts, look, conservatively 15 to 60 or 80 watts is more than enough to get the most out of a speaker of this design. Efficiency wise, it's about 85 dB, so it's not dreadfully efficient, but it's certainly not horrible to get the most out of from an amplification perspective. Again, looking at the side, we see that beautiful sort of two-tone finish and the textured sort of Scandinavian light oak veneer. The rear emulates again the use of that veneer and introduces the brand new binding posts that ELAC have added for this range. We see an elaborate crossover network and rear area that allows the components for the crossover to be properly aligned and laid out from a circuit topography perspective. And they've got these beautiful new 5-way binding posts with your traditional bridging clip between them. They're big, they're butty, you can get lots of physical contact with bananas or spades or even bare wire. They've got a wonderful fit and finish as well. Now, above the bi-wireable binding posts, we've got an emulation of the model and serial number, again in the scan code, and a bit of information about the speaker as far as its efficiency, wattage and other things that we alluded to. So there we have ELAC's Uni-Fi reference range, the UBR62 bookshelf speaker, unboxed here at the listening post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.